Welcome back to the next lecture, and I promise you that this is going to be the last theory lecture before we get to do another hands-on lab, in which we're going to be connecting multiple OT devices on the same subnet. We've talked about IP addresses, we've talked about MAC addresses, we've talked about subnet masks. Today I wanted to review and basically explain the configuration of unmanaged switches. And so the opposite, or I guess the two options that you will normally have, are going to be unmanaged and managed switches. And so the unmanaged, as the name implies, typically does not have you the ability to configure further settings. All they're going to do is basically pass all the traffic from any device to all the other devices on that specific switch. And so the first question that ultimately comes to mind, especially when you're selecting unmanaged switches for the plant floor for the OT side, is why should I pay extra for a switch that's going to cost a couple of $100s versus what I can buy, for example, on Amazon used in a commercial setting. Thank you so much for watching our channel. If you have a moment, I would truly appreciate if you could subscribe and like the video. If you could also leave me a comment as to whether the content is interesting for you, or if you would like to see something else in manufacturing industrial automation. It helps us tailor some of the future videos. I will also mention that we have a ton of different tutorials and articles that go way beyond the content on the joltech.com website. If you need help on some of your projects, don't hesitate to reach out. With that in mind, let's get back to the video. And so, as you will probably find out on your own if you decide to go that route, is that the industrialized unmanaged switches are going to be rated for the manufacturing environments, which typically means that they will have a much stronger case, they're going to last longer, they're probably going to dissipate heat a lot better, and they're going to be generally more robust. So the answer as to why you should pay a couple of $100s for an unmanaged switch versus $10 for a switch that you found on eBay or on Amazon is going to be the ruggedness for the industrial environment. And you will see that this is going to be true for a variety of different manufacturers. You can buy them from Rockwell, you can buy them from Siemens, from Phoenix Contact, as you can see here, and a variety of different third-party networking equipment vendors. So a lot of them will also feature, I guess, items that you will normally see in a control panel. So that's going to be DIN rail mounts versus just being a switch that you can sit on your desk. That being said, if you're looking to just practice, or maybe you have a home lab or you have an office opportunity to connect a few devices, you can definitely use the switches that you will find for $12 or a couple $12 in any other markets. It shouldn't necessarily matter. So then the question becomes, is why should I use unmanaged versus a managed switch? And the answer to that typically is number one, pricing, number two, cybersecurity, and number three, some of the configuration features that we will see later and in the more advanced course on OT networking, right? So you have a lot more freedom, or I guess flexibility, to choose what kind of protocols you're using, how you're blocking different devices, who can and cannot connect to that specific switch, how you manage the different ports, so on and so forth. So it's going to be a lot more flexible, but you're also going to have to pay a premium for some of those higher end switches, and usually they can go a couple of grand all the way up to 5 to 10 grand depending on the feature set. And once again, there's going to be different manufacturers. If you've worked in IT, there's going to be a huge standard on Palo Alto switches. There's going to be some Cisco switches, HP switches. The same manufacturers, if you look, for example, at the Stratix line from Allen Bradley, it's basically a Cisco switch under the hood, so you can use SEM commands, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So now I want to focus on unmanaged switches. So what is the point of a switch, right? So let's go back to the very basic example that we had in the lab, which was connecting from the laptop to a VFD, right? So if I want to configure the VFD, all I need to do is I need to connect from my laptop to the VFD. Now, my machine is going to also have a PLC that's going to control, first of all, the VFD, but it's also going to connect to other equipment, right? It's going to be maybe on hardwired I/O. So let's imagine that there's going to be a couple of cards going into the field. So I can basically move my laptop then to configure the IP address of the PLC. Once I'm done, I can simply put the cable between those two devices, and the PLC can now communicate to the VFD, so we're going to basically have two-way communication of data over that specific network, and the PLC can stop the VFD over Ethernet. It can also adjust the speed, it can adjust the parameters, and this is perfectly fine, right? So this is going to be the most basic application. Sometimes instead of the VFD, perhaps you have a PLC and an HMI combo. Now, the question, or I guess the opportunity for a switch, starts to happen as we scale this further. And in this case, let me draw, as like I mentioned, an HMI, which is going to be used to control some of the process, right? So it is very, I want to say, difficult to have a ton of I/O that's going to be, obviously start and stop is easy enough to wire in, but if you want to change the parameters, if you want to change the set points, you can use potentiometers and analog inputs and outputs on your PLC, but an HMI is going to augment that, right? So there's going to be, let's say, some push buttons, there's going to be some trends on how the motor is running, and so basically this PLC needs to maintain communication to this specific HMI to either get inputs from the operator running the system or display some information about the system as it gets the data from the VFD. So in this case, obviously, you can take a laptop, you can configure the VFD, you can configure the PLC, you can configure the HMI, but the question becomes, well, now we have multiple devices on this physical network, so we can no longer, I've drawn the arrows for the data, but the cables cannot come into the PLC, and we'll talk about PLCs with two Ethernet ports. That's going to be the exception, not the rule. But let's assume that we only have a single port on each device. So in this case, I'm going to draw one port on the PLC, one port on the HMI, and one port on the VFD. In this case, I am unable to, if I make the connection between the HMI and the PLC, I'm no longer able to add the VFD into the mix. So long story short, I'm going to add a switch into my panel, and again, I've demonstrated a couple of different examples. So this is an 8-port switch, as you can see by the front, and in this case, all we need is probably 4 ports. So I'm going to draw out 4 ports. Obviously, you're going to pay a little bit extra the more ports you have. It's not extremely it's not a big difference usually, but it can be, it could be significant if you're going from 4 ports all the way to, let's say, 488 ports. And so in this case, I can connect the 3 devices on the same network. I can even plug in my laptop here on the spare port, and I'm able to program while the system is still running, right? So this is one of the advantages of having a switch in your system, is that I don't need to, like I've done before, I don't need to unplug the VFD to make changes. I don't need to unplug the PLC to make changes. So now if I'm running, for example, TIA Portal, or if I'm running Studio 5000, I can push my changes to the PLC without impacting the actual operation. And of course, the same goes with the HMI, the VFD, and any other devices that might be there. Now, of course, the question then becomes, and can we add more devices to that specific subnet? And the answer is absolutely yes. So if I add, or if I have more ports on my unmanaged switch, I can add, for example, 2 more VFDs. And so in this case, let's assume that I have a connection to each one of them. I can then add some servo drives, right? So I start to have a more complicated architecture, and so I can then plug in Ethernet connections to each one of those devices. What happens if you run out of ports? Well, there's basically 2 options. You can buy a second switch, right? So you can add a switch next to it. You can replace the switch of 8 ports with a larger one, right? So you can simply rip and replace that device. But here's another option that is also acceptable, which is basically, like I said, if you add a second switch, you can simply make the connection between the 2 switches, and because they are unmanaged, they will basically send traffic across the same 2 switches as if it was a single device. So in this case, as you can see, I'm missing one connection on my servo drive, so I can add it to one of the ports, and I can continue adding more devices on that specific unmanaged switch. Now, of course, and again, this question can come up, is what is the limit in terms of traffic? Well, the hard part with unmanaged switches is that you don't have the data. You don't have the ability to see how much traffic is going through the switch by logging into some kind of a portal. Now, of course, we can use Wireshark, so if you communicate From the laptop to the switch, you can monitor the traffic on that specific network. You can also have options. So for example, if you have PLC and you have access to this specific PLC, a lot of times they will give you the opportunity to see how much traffic is being consumed by that specific card. But in any case, the point here is that the unmanaged switches are going to be completely open. As I have mentioned, there's going to be a couple of risks, or I want to say concerns, associated with this. And as we progress through the course and look at some of the more advanced architectures, I'll explain it a little bit in more detail. But ultimately, if you have somebody malicious that wants to plug in a physical device on this specific port, there's really nothing that's preventing them. There's going to be zero checks that will be done by the device. It's going to allow the traffic from this device to be broadcast to any other devices, and it's going to also allow it to consume any of the traffic from the other devices on the open port. So depending on the current posture of your company when it comes to cybersecurity and general network segmentation, you may want to spend a little bit more on managed switches and avoid the unmanaged route. That being said, it is not always possible. Cost is a real concern when it comes to OT networks and control systems, and I will illustrate some examples as we move forward where this might be a viable option and how you can segment in other ways using some of the hardware available in the field. If you have any questions with unmanaged switches, I highly recommend that you purchase either an industrial one that you might already have access to, or if you want to save a few dollars, you can buy one on eBay, on Amazon, to practice working with some of these ports and settings. We will do a lab on this together, but I highly encourage you to connect different cables to create different issues like miswiring, for example, some of the switches, because you will be encountering a lot of these problems on the OT side as you work through your networks.